Okay, year 12, so I'm going to try and get through these notes as quickly as I can because it's something you've already done before. You've probably already done it in GCSE and earlier this year. I just want to briefly recap something which is domain and the range, because I know it's something that people really struggle with understanding. So basically, when you've got a function, the domain is what goes in, and the range is what comes out. So it's domain is what can go into that function, and the range is what can come out of it. So the way I like to think of it is, if I've got a graph like the one on the right, the domain is kind of anything along the x-axis that's going to have like kind of a point on the graph, and the range is kind of anything on the y-axis that's going to come out. It's not always going to be all of that. So for example, say f of x is x squared plus 2. Well, I know what the graph of that looks like. You should know it straight away. It's a parabola. It does something like this. And let's just say that is 2, where it hits. Okay, well, the domain, well, yes, any value in here I can basically square, and it's going to have a value somewhere on that graph. It might be up really high, but it's going to have some value on that graph. However, what comes out, well, that's our minimum point. So the range is basically there upwards. So the range, so for example, the domain, well, x can be anything. So x is a member of the real numbers. And the range, well, that f of x is always going to be greater than or equal to 3. It can't go anywhere underneath it because there's no values under here for that function. Similarly, say that f of x was 1 over x minus 2. Well, the domain, so what can go in? Well, most values can go in, but what value can't go in? Okay, well, the value that can't come in, if you remember, this is going to have a asymptote along there at 2. Because if I put 2 into that, I'm doing 1 divided by 0, which is undefined and I haven't got a value. This graph will look something like this. You're going to have an asymptote, it's going to raise up here, it's going to go down to here, and on the other side of things, it's going to go down here. All right, so here, the domain, well, it's anything, so x can't be 2. It's everything else, but x can't be 2. With regards to the range, okay, well, hopefully, even just from looking at that graph, it's never going to hit this line. And that makes sense. 1 divided by something is never going to be 0. It's going to get super close. 1 divided by, say that x was a billion, well, 1 divided by a billion is going to be tiny, 0.00001. However, it's never going to actually be 0. So f of x is just never going to be 0. So that's just a brief reminder about what the domain and the range is.